In this video, I'll uncover how to reduce gut inflammation. Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Zarowski and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and be sure to join our notification community. That way I can help you excel your health and your life. Now in this video, we're going to talk about how to reduce gut inflammation. This is important. This is so important, and the reason for it is because gut conditions are amongst the really rapidly rising health conditions in today's society. Now when we look at all the people out there suffering from gastritis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The list goes on. And I can tell you one person after another comes to me and talks about how they need help with their gut issues and how they want to actually reverse them naturally. Now, a lot of people out there, they have excessive amounts of inflammation in their gut and they don't even know it. They have inflammation that's causing a lot of symptoms day in and day out, and they just think it's part of normal life. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. And it's so important to stop this dead in its tracks, because when we talk about what some of the researchers and some of the experts are saying is going to be the #1 health crisis in the future, it's known to be gastrointestinal cancer. So we want to make sure that we're taking the steps today in order to improve our gut health. So what we're going to do in this video is talk about the symptoms associated with gut inflammation. We're going to talk about how the gut actually plays a huge role in the body and will cause all kinds of havoc throughout the entire body, the brain, thyroid, everything. And then lastly, what we'll do is we'll talk about how to make major rapid changes today in order to improve your gut health. So let's dive in. Now, one of the things I want to say before we talk about symptoms is if you've been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, if you have Crohn's, gastritis, any of these issues I've already talked about, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you already have a massive amount of inflammation in your gastrointestinal tract. So this definitely pertains to you. Now, a lot of people, like I said, are living day in and day out. They have all kinds of symptoms and they think it's just normal, or they just think it's them. Well, it's a problem with gut inflammation. Let's talk about these symptoms and let's see if we can identify some of the ones that you may be facing in your day-to-day life. Now, first is going to be increased food reactions. Okay, so if you're going about your day-to-day eating and you are realizing that you start reacting more and more to the foods that you really love, then there's a good chance you have a lot of gut inflammation, okay? Reactions may include something like bloating after the meal, swelling, aches, pains, a lot of different things showing up, okay? If you're having reactions to your favorite foods, then we want to look at gut inflammation. Abdominal bloating. So this typically happens when you eat almost anything. It seems like, some people will eat anything and they'll get all this bloating, and then, they're not fat people, but yet they have a big distended belly. And so we want to make sure that if this is happening to you, we understand it and we start making changes today. Intolerance to sugar and starches. Unpredictable aches, pains, and swelling. So if you just find that, after meals and after you eat certain foods, that you start having swelling, maybe in random places in your face, your hands, your feet, your leg, wherever, you start getting some swelling, you get random aches and pains, then there's a good chance you have gut inflammation and you're having reactions to the foods that you're eating. Frequent bowel movements, you're running to the bathroom all day, excessive gas, diarrhea, and constipation, okay? And a lot of times it's alternating between the two. So IBS-like symptoms, basically. Now, when we look at these two issues, a lot of people face this, and a lot of people, it's crazy to me how many people just have diarrhea day in and day out, and they just think it's part of normal life. It is not good. There's a massive amount of inflammation in your gut. Your gut is very unhealthy, and we have to make changes. Like I said, gastrointestinal cancer is going to be one of the major health crises, and the statistics are already showing up. When we look at all these different gut conditions, we're already heading in that direction. It's not as if it might happen. It is happening. It's clearly happening. Pain and discomfort with eating, okay? So if you eat almost anything and your gut hurts, or it just sits in there and is very uncomfortable, and then of course you're getting bloating and you're getting diarrhea and you're getting aches and pains and you're just getting all these symptoms we've talked about, then there's a good chance you have gut inflammation. And let me tell you why this is also not only a major issue because of the gut itself, but because of how it actually the gut interacts with your entire body, and the gut inflammation will affect your entire body. So the real danger is this. The real danger is that once your gastrointestinal health crashes and goes downhill, it starts to impact your whole body. Thyroid issues, major issue in today's society. Diabetics, okay, there's not a diabetic out there who doesn't have gut issues. When we look at brain health, a lot of brain health issues, Your gut and your brain are very closely connected, and as a matter of fact, I did a video on that, and I'll put it in a link in the description here below so you can check that out. So when we look at your gut in general, it's so interconnected with your entire body. Your immune system, for instance. Autoimmune disease and autoimmune conditions are off the charts right now. Guess where 80% of your immune system is located? Right within your gastrointestinal tract. So your gastrointestinal tract, if it is unhealthy, will destroy not only your gut health, but it'll destroy your really health in its entirety. So we want to make sure that we're going and making changes in order to stop the gut inflammation and stop the havoc it's going to wreak on the rest of the body. Now let's talk about making changes, because of course this is why you're here. You have come here to realize that you need to make changes, and then you want to know how to make them. Let's talk about the food that you eat, okay? The food you need to eat versus the food you need to avoid. First of all, we need to follow a non-inflammatory diet. We have inflammation in the gut, we need to follow a non-inflammatory diet. If you're not familiar with what that is, I'll put a link to the non-inflammatory diet that we use in the description below. So you need to follow a non-inflammatory diet. That's one of the first things. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to really make sure that you're pulling out all the processed food, all the junk, all the sugar, getting rid of that stuff. I know that for some people it may sound obvious, but for a lot of people it's not so obvious, because most food has a lot of toxins and fillers and foods that you love, foods that you wouldn't expect to have it. We have to really be diligent with the food that we're eating, making sure that we're removing all the processed food, all the garbage. Next thing we need to do is we need to keep a food journal, okay? Write down all the foods that you think you might be having a reaction to. Write them down and then work on identifying those, because if you eat one of your favorite foods, let's say it's strawberries. Let's say you eat strawberries and you have a lot of cramping and pain after. You write strawberries down. Let's say that you really like having some other type of food. Let's say that you like having a certain vegetable and you notice that you have a bad reaction from it. Write it down. And then what you do is you start avoiding all these foods that you're having bad reactions to. And you'll know the reactions because it's going to be in the form of this, okay? It's going to be in the form of diarrhea. It's going to be in the form of pain and discomfort, aches, pain, swelling, okay? A lot of times it's going to be foods like breads, it's going to be a lot of starches, carbohydrates, sugars, and of course processed foods as well. You know, foods that you're buying that has over 50 ingredients in it and you don't even know what half of them are. So we want to write those down and eliminate them. Those foods that we're reacting to, we want to make sure that we eliminate them for at least 3 to 6 months. Okay, that's if it's a healthy food. If it's a junk food, you eliminate it in its entirety and stay off of it forever. But if it's a healthy food like a vegetable, a fruit, something that is definitely good for you, but it's not good for you at this time. So we eliminate it for 3 to 6 months, give our immune system a chance to basically reset a little bit when it comes to that particular food, and then we reintroduce it. So let's back up. When we look at foods, we want to do a non-inflammatory diet. We want to chart our foods. We want to remove all the different processed junk foods. And then from there, we're going to be giving our gut health foods that are not going to irritate it. Okay, so next is what we want to do is reduce stress. This is very important because people who have excessive stress in their life are going to have a more acidic gut typically, and they're also going to have things like ulcers. They're going to have just a lot of imbalances. And so stress drives inflammation, and inflammation that is already in the gut with stress is not a good combination. So we want to make sure that we're using stress reduction techniques. People who have day in and day out stress and high amounts of it, it's just, chronic, it's going to really, really destroy the gut health. So we have to be careful with that and always work on reducing stress. Proper nutrients. Now, it's very important to make sure that we're putting in the proper herbs and nutrients that are going to stomp out that inflammation. What we want to do is we want to use these nutrients in clinically relevant doses, but we also want to make sure that we're using a couple to work synergistically to really give us a huge impact when it comes to reducing inflammation. The first one I really like to use is L-glutamine. The next is arabinogalactin. Next is licorice root extract. And then the last is going to be aloe vera. These all work very, very well at healing the gut lining and also reducing inflammation in the gut. Clinically relevant doses are so important here because a lot of people will go and they'll try to use these things and they'll do it in doses that basically mean nothing. They don't even scratch the surface to reducing inflammation. So we want to make sure we're using clinically relevant doses. You can find all these ingredients in my formula GI Repair, which I will put a link to in the description below. And it has all those different ingredients that work very well. Now, the last thing is we have to look at a realistic time frame here. Now, it's very important to make sure that when we look at just healing in general, let's say, but especially gut healing, it takes time. Now, a lot of us, when we come across different things in life, we want it and we want it to happen now. We want to lose weight overnight. We want to gain muscle overnight. We want to, achieve our goals overnight. But the fact is it takes time. Now, for most of us, if we have destroyed our health in any way, we've done it over many years, 10, 20, 30 years. So the idea that reversing this issue is going to happen overnight is just really crazy. So we want to make sure that we're understanding that it will take time. We have to understand that, especially if you have ulcerative colitis, gastritis, some of these different issues, I've worked with pretty much all of them. In some cases, they can take a very long time to go and really, really get great results with. So we have to start today. That's the most important thing, is starting today, and then putting in the time, putting in the effort, putting in the hard work in order to really improve our gut health over time so we can avoid things like gastrointestinal cancer, which is really a major problem in today's society. So if you want to learn more about gut health, I have a whole playlist. I'll put a link to it right up here. Check that playlist out, and it's going to give you way more information than I gave you here, but it's a really, really great playlist that just talks about all the different aspects of gut health. And so what I want you to do is share this video with your friends if you'd be so kind, because a lot of people are suffering from this issue, and when they're going the traditional route to healing some of these gut issues, let me tell you, it's not pretty. We're getting this information out there to all the people who have gut inflammation so that they can start making changes today. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you have any questions, put it down here in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet, and check out my other videos on how you can improve your health. I'll see you in the next video.